Hey there everyone, my name's Andrew, and this is Canadian Starships. Let's continue building the 650 scale Enterprise D. Welcome back to Update 6 on the 650 scale Enterprise D project. In this update, we are going to be focusing a lot of our time on getting the armature sorted for this thing. Will I be able to use the resin armature that's included? I'm not sure. We're going to give it a try, but there's every chance that I might need to go to extreme measures for this thing because this is a big kit. I also have some bridge parts to show you. Also, we need to figure out what we're doing about that aft photon launcher part. It does not look like what it's supposed to, so let's get right at it. But before we get started, why not take a moment and click the subscribe button? And while you're here, click on that notification bell so you don't miss a single update. If you're thinking about buying a Tesla, you could save $1,000 by ordering using my referral code. Link is in the description below. So now it's time for us to look at the support structure for the Enterprise D. Now the kit comes with this resin printed support arm that goes into the secondary hull from the bottom here and sits somewhat, let's see if I can find the right spot here, somewhat like this, and it settles into a certain spot here and will be epoxied against the back of the hull. And that leaves this part, which connects to the bottom of the secondary hull. Now, normally you would have a metal plate that goes in here. On this particular version, I am replicating the sensor bands with plastic styrene sheet. So I'm going to need to get a 1.5 millimeter spacer to go here. But essentially, let me take the support arm out from here. This is going to go on here. This is going to go on top like that, and it'll all get sandwiched together. Now it's going to be a little bit tricky to get the placement of this arm just right because you're not really going to be able to see much, so I'll have to figure out an interesting way of getting the placement of that just correct. However, there is some concern amongst all of us who are building this kit about the structural integrity of this resin print piece. If this was solid resin, it wouldn't be a problem, but this is a hollow part, and we're just not quite sure how this is going to hold up over time. So there's a multitude of solutions that you could do. Phil over at Strobe versus having a whole complete new arm manufactured out of metal. I'm not going to go quite that extreme, but what I think I'm going to do is take some square brass tube. I'm going to run it inside and angle it at the top here so that it bears the majority of the weight of this arm. And part of it will stick out the bottom and be embedded into the resin block here. That's the plan. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but at least that's the plan that I'm going to chase down to get this started. There's probably going to be a multitude of problems with this that we're going to have to sort through, but that's what model building is, solving problems so that you get the effect that you want. So I'm going to start working on measuring up the brass piece, getting it cut, bent, soldered, and work on getting it into the inside of this neck. My goal is for it to rest and be epoxied against this surface, and then rest and be epoxied against this upper surface. And I'm probably going to backfill at least the base of this arm with resin as well, just to give it that added extra support as it's connected to the lower secondary hull. Here we have the brass tube, which has now been cut, bent, and soldered together. This is really quite strong, and it's going to go inside roughly like so. Now I've cut a hole in the bottom. It's bigger than the size of the post, but that's because this has to kind of maneuver in order to go in, so you need some clearance in order to get this to move a little bit to get it inside the part. But it's going to essentially go in the bottom here and work its way in like so. Now I've marked the top here with a little black dot. I'm going to drill a hole in there, and that's going to allow me to put some epoxy in place so that the top of this resin piece is physically attached to the metal bar with resin. And then this part that is sticking out is going to go into the resin block that's inside the base, and it's going to be epoxied in there quite nicely. And with the angles going on, it should bear the weight of the saucer quite nicely. So before I work on getting the arm installed on this side, I need to drill a hole and place in the 0402 SMD for the belly strobe that needs to go right here. And that's going to be a pain because it's got to go all the way through this big honkin' huge block of resin. So I'm going to start probably drilling the hole that's just big enough for the LED, for the SMD on this side, and then I might go a little bit bigger on this side and meet up with it. I'll need to run the wire, bring it out before I place down the arm on here, because I will not have access to that once the arm goes on top. So now it's time for us to have a little chat. Going through that process, trying to get that resin arm to work, it's just not going to work. So let me give you a quick update. I put the secondary hull on the copper post and it was not sitting right. And no matter what I could do to make adjustments, I could not get the copper T inside the secondary hull to sit flush, to sit level, for this lower secondary hull section to sit level on the post. So I took the copper T out. I ripped the plastic sensor array out, and I opened up the hole just big enough to fit a 1-inch copper pipe. Now I've put the metal plate down and I've permanently secured the metal plate inside. So both copies of the kit are both going to have metal plates inside. So that's been bolted down to the resin block. It's been epoxied down in place. And I have gone the extreme option. I have, as some others have done, gone to a steel armature. So I've got a square steel pipe arm inside the secondary hull. And I also have a T-frame structure for the saucer section so that everything is going to be really well supported. No matter what I did there, I wasn't going to get the support that I really, really needed. Now, I might be going overkill. I might very well be going overkill on this, but nobody's built this before. We don't have any finished versions to go on or time in to see how it lasts, and I want to make sure that these things do not lose structural integrity over time. So let me show you the updates on the secondary hull. So as described to you, here is the secondary hull with the modifications, and I will try to walk you through these modifications. Now keep in mind that this is the raw work. Nothing has been cleaned up yet, including the interior of the secondary hull lower section, which needs a really good cleaning. So what we've done is we've eliminated the plastic sensor bands and we have installed the metal piece. I've also gone through and removed the majority of the inner sections. This opens this up so that we've got much more access for lighting, yet it retains the structural integrity of the metal plate. Then we took another steel plate here, a steel bar, and we've used this to mount this steel arm too. One of the reasons why we decided to do that was because I had already gotten this steel plate installed into the ship before I decided that I was going to be doing the nuclear version of this, the nuclear option where we go overboard on it. So I didn't want to be welding this down to the metal plate that was also attached to the resin piece here because of the heat transfer. So we first put it onto this steel bar and then tack welded that down to this steel plate that's inside here. Just the couple tacks did not transfer anywhere near as much heat to the resin piece underneath here. So we've got a steel pipe arm going up. It's been cut, angled, and welded here. We have done some cleanup on the weld here, and then a cross beam member has been put on here, which matches perfectly to where it needs to rest inside the secondary, inside the primary saucer, and the saucer will basically sit on this, and I'll create some sort of pad to help distribute the weight so that the saucer's not deforming around the metal pieces at the end. One of the things that this stretch here does, I made sure that it went out past the end of this part, because this will be able to be epoxied down to the pylon section and just give that back end a little bit more support. I tried seeing if I could run supports up the pylons, but I wasn't going to be able to get anything that had enough strength to it at such a small size, because those pylons are very thin. So the pylons will get attached the same way they normally would, but also have the benefit of being epoxied down to this metal plate, which is tack welded to the main structural support. You can see that I've got the wiring for the 0402 SMD in there, and that's good. The other thing that I was mentioning is that I opened this up. This is going to take a 1-inch copper pipe now, which is going to go down into the base, and then I'm having a 1-inch copper T brazed onto the extra metal plate that I have that's too thick. And that metal plate that the copper T is going to be brazed to, so it's all nice, flush, and secure, is going to be bolted down to the wood of the base. So I think that we're going to have a really good, strong structure out of this. Again, I do need to do some cleanup work, although this is going to be on the inside of the ship, so you're not really going to be able to see very much of it. But I think that we have a good structure on the go here. I only have one of the 2 arms done up. I went to my father's woodworking shop. He's got the welding supplies. The weld down here is a little bit of a mess. We did have a bit of an issue with the welding helmet. The best one that he had wasn't working. The second one he had was making it very hard to see. So it's not quite as clean and nice down here, but the important thing is that it is structurally sound, and that by 100% surety it is really structurally sound. It will add weight to the model, but I don't think that we have any way around that. Well, we're back for another chat. Did you catch the mistake I made in the armature in that last clip? Did you see it? My mistake was that we welded the crossbar for the saucer support on. I can't get the upper section of the secondary hull on with that crossbar. So we're going to pause work on the armature there, because I need my dad's shop in order to get that welding stuff done, and they're away on holiday. So I have to wait for them to get back. So that part of it's going to go on pause. But I have something really cool to show you. And it's so cool, it's probably the thumbnail for this video. This is the really cool thing I have to show you. This is the bridge insert that will go into the bridge section of the upper saucer part. Now, just to give you a little bit of scale, here is a penny. That should tell you how small this is, because I've got this super zoomed in so that you can see all the little details. Now, this was painted by Donnie Daughtry from Don's Modeling Desk. Link to his channel will be in the description below. He volunteered to paint this for me, and I mean, I do not currently have the experience to be able to do this in a really nice looking way. So he volunteered to do it simply for the challenge of painting the bridge at this size. And I've got to say, he did a phenomenal job. I'm going to separate this into its various parts so you can really see just what kind of work was done. So here's the bridge and the conference room. The conference room desk, the black, you can really tell in this light, it's like super glossy. Super glossy. That is really cool. And check out the bridge. You've got some of those panels, that kind of stuff, looking really nice. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I need to show you a little bit about this piece. The walls are done. The back area is done. There is a cutout on the front screen because you can't see the front screen area when you're looking down into the ship through the bridge dome. Some light might come through there from the inside, and I'll probably top light it. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to overlight this thing because that is a risk when you're lighting something at this scale. And then look at that. I mean, that is cool. Now, this wall didn't appear past either season 2 or 3. They redesigned it. But when people think of the observation lounge, they really think of the iconic wall full of previous Enterprises. So I think this is just so cool. And he didn't just do one of these for me. He did both for both of the kits. And thank you, Donnie, for your amazing work on this. Really, doing a project like this, it really takes a whole community of people to bring all the necessary skills and trades and vendors and all that kind of stuff together to make something that looks really, really good. And this just looks so nice. Although I'm looking at the bridge now and it kind of looks like a clown. What do you think? So let's talk rear photon torpedo launchers. Everybody's favorite topic right now, it seems. The part that is provided by Helios, well, it's kind of lacking. It is, it's got this gridded top, which I'm assuming is just from printer layers. Although, the way that these parts have all been printed, there are no printer layers anywhere, so I'm wondering if that's deliberate, but it's not quite accurate to the studio model. So, what I've done is I've contacted Keith at Cosmic Scale Models, and he has been working on a replacement part for me. And I've never 3D printed anything before, and so I had to pull out my 3D printer that was gifted to me by a client and figure out how to print. And I think I've managed to get the file printed. I've also upsized the file a little bit on the advice of Lou over at Aztec Dummy. Upsized it by about 10%. And I think we've got something pretty decent there. So it's got a much bigger opening, a much more square opening. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but it's got the little details on the sides that are also present on the studio model. And I think once that's blended in, and I do need to remove a little bit of the stuff on the bottom there, this should look a lot better as a photon part. Now it does have grid marks on top, but those are, in my case, print marks. So I will get this finalized, but I think this part here is going to look far better than the stock part from Helios. And it's even got a little trench inside for the wires for the lights to go through. So that's where we're at on pretty much the entire project at the moment. As you can tell, lots of things are still works in progress. Lots of things still need to be tweaked and finalized, and in the case of the armature, fixed, so that we can actually get the secondary hull, which is this part over here, over top of the armature, because it has to go on top of the armature in order to sit on the bottom section of the secondary hull. And that's going to be it on this update for the 650 scale Enterprise D project. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but that is part of model building. I will get back into my dad's shop and take care of that cross beam once they're back from vacation. That being said, there's going to be some time before I can get that done. So I'm going to switch focus in the shop here for a little bit and get some more work done on the 1400 scale Enterprise E projects. I'm sure my clients would love to get their hands on their build, so I'm going to give those a little bit of extra TLC in the meantime, but I am really happy with the way that that bridge module and conference room turned out. Thank you again to Donnie for doing that work. The Photon Launcher, thank you to Keith at Cosmic Scale Models for doing that work. You guys are absolutely awesome. Links to both of them, both Donnie and Cosmic Scale Models, will be in the description of this video. So I hope that you've enjoyed this update, and if you're seeing this shortly after it comes out, you may notice that I am not live streaming tonight because it is Saturday. So I'm going to give you a quick update on my weight loss journey that I am on. In 3 weeks, I have now lost 10.5 pounds. For those of you who may not know that I'm on this journey, I'm doing it so that I can maintain some health with a kidney condition that I have. Getting rid of the extra weight helps with the blood pressure, which in turn helps greatly with maintaining good kidney function, given that I have a specific kidney issue there. So I am excited that I'm down 10.5 pounds in 3 weeks. So there's your update. So if you've enjoyed this update, make sure that you hit that like button. If you're new to my channel or you haven't done so yet, why not hit that subscribe button today? You'll make me very happy if you do. But for now, my name is Andrew, and this is Canadian Starships. Have a great day, everyone.